Chapter: The Brain is a Supercomputer.
The possibility of creating a flying saucer intrigued me. If you consider just its principle of movement as a hypothesis, then it is new. A flying saucer, though, is a complex mechanism, and for us, Earthlings, not an item of first necessity. Therefore, I felt like hearing something that would be immediately understood. A something that would not require any investigations by scientific minds, but could be applied in practice in our life immediately and bring benefit to all people. I began asking Anastasia to give me a solution to some acute problem our society faces today. She agreed, but asked,
"You'll first have to formulate this problem. How can I solve it without knowing what you want?"
I began to think of what was most relevant today, and the following parameters of the problem came to mind. You know, Anastasia, in our big cities we face a very acute pollution problem today. The air there is so bad, it's hard to breathe.
You're the ones polluting it.
Certainly we are. Listen some more, only don't philosophize about how we need to be cleaner, have more trees and so on. Take everything just the way it is today and come up with something. Well, for instance, something to make the air in the big cities 50% cleaner, but so that it requires no money from the Treasury, no state money, I mean. And so that what you come up with is the most rational of all possible options and could be implemented instantly and be understandable to me and everyone else.
I'll try immediately. Have you listed all the parameters?
Just in case, I tried to make the problem even more complicated. What if her intellect and capabilities really did prove to be much higher than our reason's conceptions allowed for? Therefore, I added, whatever you come up with should also yield a profit.
A profit for whom?
Me and the country too. You live in Russia. That means all of Russia.
By this you mean money?
Yes, it should yield a profit in the form of money.
And you want a lot of money?
Anastasia, there can never be too much profit, that is to say, money. But I mean enough to pay for this expedition and cover another, while Russia, I thought a little. What if Anastasia did have an interest in our civilization's material goods? You don't want anything for yourself?
I have everything.
All of a sudden, I had an idea, and I realized how I could interest her. You know, Anastasia, let what you come up with yield enough money so that all your beloved summer people, the gardeners all over Russia, can obtain seeds for free or on advantageous terms.
That's wonderful. You've thought of something fine. I'll work on this right away, if that's all you have. I like this so much. Seeds? Or do you have something else?
No, Anastasia, that's enough for now. I could tell the task itself had inspired her, especially the free seeds for her summer people. But at the time, I was still certain that even given her abilities, the problem of clean air simply did not have a solution. Otherwise, our many scientific institutes would have found it already. Anastasia lay down on the grass vigorously, not calmly as usual, and flung her arms out to either side. Her curved fingers faced fingertips up and would move and then be still, and the lashes of her closed eyes would flutter from time to time. She lay there like that for about 20 minutes, and then opened her eyes, sat up, and said,
"I've determined it, but what a nightmare."
"What did you determine? What's the nightmare?"
"The greatest harm is inflicted on you by your cars. You have so many of them in the big cities, and each one emits a nasty smell and substances that harm the organism. What is most terrible is that those substances mingle with and permeate particles of dust and dirt. Traffic raises this permeated dust, and people breathe in this horrible mixture. It flies in all directions and comes to rest on the grass and trees, and covers everything everywhere. This is very bad. Very harmful for the health of people and plants."
Of course it's bad, but everyone knows that. Only, no one can do anything. There are cleaning machines, but they aren't up to the task. Anastasia, you've discovered absolutely nothing new. You haven't come up with an original solution to cleaning the pollution.
I've only just determined the main source of the harm. Now I'll analyze and think. I need to concentrate for a long time, maybe even an hour, because I've never studied these kinds of problems before. I don't want you to be bored, so go take a walk through the forest.
You go ahead and think. and I'll find something to keep me busy. Anastasia turned completely inward. After an hour's walk through the forest, I found her dissatisfied, it seemed to me, and I said, "You see, Anastasia, here even your brain is powerless. Only don't get upset. We have many scientific institutions working on this problem, but like you, they've only established the fact of pollution. So far, they haven't been able to do anything either." She replied in a somewhat apologetic tone.
I've sorted through all the possible options, I think. But to do this quickly and buy 50%, I couldn't do that.
I went on the alert. She had found some solution after all. What percentage did you come up with? She sighed.
I fell short by a lot. I came up with 35 to 40%.
What? I couldn't keep from exclaiming.
Not so great, right?
My throat went dry. I felt that she couldn't lie and exaggerate or minimize what she said. Trying to restrain my excitement, I said, "Let's change the conditions of the problem. Let it be 38%. Tell me quickly what you came up with."
All those cars have to collect all that nasty dust, not just throw it up.
How can that be done? Tell me quickly.
Up in front. Oh, what do you call the part that sticks out there?
The bumper, I helped her.
Right. The bumper. Inside or under it, you need to make a box with holes in its top part. And there should also be little holes behind, for the air to get out. When these cars move, the streams of harmful dusty air will fall into the front holes, be cleaned, and the air going out the back holes will be 20% cleaner.
But where is your 40%?
Right now, this dust is hardly picked up off the street. But with this method, there will be much less of it, so it could be cleaned up every day and everywhere. I calculated that in a month, with these little boxes, assuming they were installed on all cars, the quantity of dirty dust would decrease by 40%. After that, the percentage of pollution wouldn't decrease because other factors come into play.
What is the size of the box? What should be in it? And how many holes should it have? And at what spacing?
Vladimir, would you like me to attach it to each car too?
The first time I saw, she had a sense of humor, and I laughed out loud, picturing Anastasia bolting her boxes to cars. She started laughing too, delighted at my merriment, and she spun around the glade. The idea really was simple. The rest was just a technical matter. Already, without Anastasia, I could picture how all this might work. Decrees from administration heads, auto-inspectorate monitoring, changing filters at gas stations, turning in old ones, vouchers, and so on. A straightforward solution, like seat belts. One stroke of the pen, and there were seat belts in every car. And here, one stroke of a pen, and the air would be cleaner. And entrepreneurs would fight for orders for the boxes, and there would be work for factories. And most of all, the air would be cleaner as a result. Wait a minute. I turned again to Anastasia, who was spinning in her merry dance. What should be in these boxes?
In these boxes. In these boxes. Why don't you think about it a little? It's very simple.
She answered without stopping. But where will the money come from for me, and for the summer people enough for their seeds? I asked my question again. She stopped.
What do you mean, where? You asked about the idea being the most rational. Here I thought it up, the most rational one. It's going to be used in big cities all over Russia, and they'll pay Russia enough for this idea to pay for free seeds and for you. Only you can obtain one for yourself only under certain circumstances.
At the time I paid no attention to what she was saying about certain conditions, and began trying to clarify something else. So you mean it has to be patented who would pay voluntarily?
Why wouldn't they? They will, and I'll set a percentage right now. From the boxes produced, Russia would get 2% and you 0.01%.
What's the use of your percentage? In some things you're strong, but in business you're a total neophyte. No one is going to pay voluntarily. They don't always pay even when there are signed contracts. If only you knew how many accounts receivable we had. The arbitration courts are overloaded. Do you know what an arbitration court is?
I can guess. But in this case, they'll pay punctiliously. Anyone who refuses will go bust. Only the honest ones will flourish.
Why should they go bust? Are you going to turn into an enforcer or something?
What won't you think of? My goodness. They themselves, or rather circumstances, will take shape around the cheats in such a way that they go bust.
Right then, I had a thought. If you consider that Anastasia couldn't lie and, as she herself said, natural mechanisms wouldn't allow her to be wrong, that meant before making these statements, she must have worked out in her mind an unprecedented quantity of information and made tremendous arithmetic calculations, while bearing in mind the huge number of psychological factors of the people who would be involved in her project. In our language, she not only solved the very difficult problem of cleaning the air, but also composed and analyzed a business plan. And all this in about an hour and a half. I decided to clarify a few details. Tell me, Anastasia, did you do the calculations in your mind, using the percentage of clean air, the amount of money that would come from the production of your boxes installed on cars, from filter replacements and so on?
Calculations were done, and very detailed ones, only not using my brain.
Stop. Quiet. Let me finish my thought. Tell me, could you compete with the most advanced computer, say, a Japanese or American one?
But I'm not interested in that. That seems so primitive and demeaning. Competing with a computer is like... Oh, how can I explain it to you using a clear example? It's like vying with a prosthetic arm or leg, and not even a full prosthesis, but part of one. A computer lacks the main thing, and the main thing is feelings.
I began trying to prove the opposite, telling her how among us people who are considered highly intelligent and respected in society played chess with the computer. But when neither this nor other arguments convinced her, I asked her to do this for me and for other people as proof of the possibilities of the human brain. She agreed, and then I clarified. You mean I can officially announce your readiness to compete with a Japanese supercomputer and solving problems?
Why Japanese?
Because they're considered the best in the world.
Is that so? Why don't I do it with all of them at once, so you don't ask me to do this boring thing again later?
Marvelous, I rejoice. Do with all of them, only formulate a problem.
Fine. But for starters, so I don't waste time on formulating one, let them solve the same problem you set for me and confirm or refute my solution. If they refute it, then they have to suggest their own. Life and people will judge us.
Marvelous, Anastasia. Great idea. This is constructive. And how much time do you think it will take for them to provide a solution to this problem? I don't think the hour and a half you took would be enough. Let's give them 3 months.
All right, 3.
I suggest letting anyone who wants to be a judge. If there are a lot of them, then no one will try to influence their opinion out of greed.
So be it. But I'd like to talk some more with you about raising children.
Anastasia considered child-rearing the main thing and always spoke about this with pleasure. My fancy of competing with computers aroused no particular interest in her. However, I was still happy to have obtained her consent. Now, I wanted to call on firms that put out modern computers to join the competition to solve the problems set out above. I decided to clarify something with Anastasia. What prize should be named for the winner?
I don't need anything.
Why do you talk about yourself? Are you so sure of your victory?
Naturally, I'm a human being.
Well, fine. What might you offer anyway to a firm that took first place after you?
Well, I could suggest how to improve their primitive computer.
Chapter: In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Gospel of John.
One day, at my request, Anastasia took me to see the ringing cedar her grandfather and great-grandfather had spoken of. We had not gone far from the glade when I saw it. The 40-meter tree loomed over those nearby, but its main distinction was that its crown seemed to shine, creating a halo like the ones they draw on icons around the faces of saints. The halo was not even. It pulsed. At its acme, a fine ray formed and receded into the heaven's infinity. The spectacle bewitched and enchanted me. At Anastasia's suggestion, I pressed my palm to its trunk and felt a ringing, or a crackling comparable to what you might hear under high-voltage power line, only more resonant.
I was the one who happened to find a way to return this energy to the cosmos and then scatter it on Earth. See, the bark is torn in various places. That was the she-bear climbing. I had a hard time making it carry me to the lowest branches. I clung to the fur at its nape. It was climbing and bellowing, climbing and bellowing. That's how I got to the lowest branches, and I climbed the rest of the way to the top. I sat there for 2 days, and you can't imagine the things I thought of. I stroked it, and I shouted upward, but nothing helped. My grandfather and great-grandfather arrived. You can imagine what happened then. They stood below, keeping watch over me and demanding I climb down. I in turn was demanding they tell me what to do with the cedar. How to save the ringing cedar, since people hadn't sawed it down. They wouldn't say, but I sensed they knew. My grandfather, he's a sly one, wanted to trick me and started promising to help me settle things with a certain woman I just couldn't find a way to contact. I very much wanted to help her. Before that, my grandfather had just been angry at me for spending so much time on her and not doing other things. But I knew he couldn't help me because my great-grandfather had tried twice, unbeknownst to my grandfather, and hadn't been able to either. Then my grandfather became totally distraught. He grabbed a branch and ran around the cedar, lashing the air with the branch and shouting that I was the most muddle-headed person in the family. I was acting illogically. I wasn't taking intelligent advice, and he was going to teach me with a switch on my rear end. And all the while he was lashing the air with a branch. What a thing for him to do! Even my great-grandfather started laughing. So did I. Right then, a branch broke off by accident at the top and a glow came from it. I heard my great-grandfather's voice, very serious, demanding and imploring simultaneously.
"Don't touch it, dear granddaughter. Don't do anything more. Come down very carefully. You've already done everything."
I obeyed and climbed down. My great-grandfather embraced me without saying a word. He himself was trembling and pointing at the cedar. On it, more and more branches were beginning to glow, and then a ray formed and shone upward. Now the ringing cedar won't burn. Through its ray it will give everything it has stored up for 500 years to people and the earth. My great-grandfather explained that the ray formed right where I'd shouted up and accidentally broken the branch when I was laughing. My great-grandfather said that if I'd touched the ray emanating from the broken branch, my brain would have burst, since that was too much energy and information in that ray, and that was exactly how my papa and mama had died.
Anastasia placed her palms on the mighty trunk of the ringing cedar she had saved, pressed her cheek to it, was silent for a while, and then went on with her story.
They, my dear papa and mama, had discovered a ringing cedar like this. Only my mama did things a little differently because she didn't know. She climbed a tree next to the ringing cedar, reached to the lowest branch of the ringing cedar, and broke it off, accidentally illuminating herself with the ray that blazed out of the twig. The twig was pointed down, and the ray went into the ground. This is very bad, very harmful, when that kind of energy falls into the earth. When my papa came along, he saw the ray and mama, who had been left hanging there, one hand with a death grip on the branch of the ordinary cedar. In the other, she held the broken branch of the ringing cedar. My papa must have understood everything. He climbed the ringing cedar, climbed to the top. My grandfather and great-grandfather saw him break off the top branches, but they didn't glow, while the lower ones began glowing more and more. My great-grandfather said that my papa realized that a little more, and he would never be able to climb down, but the ray shining up, the pulsing glow, still had not appeared. There were just more and more fine rays shining down. The upper ray appeared when my papa broke a large branch aimed upward. And although it didn't shine, he bent it and aimed it at himself. When it blazed up, my papa was still able to unclench his hands, and the ray from the straightened-out branch shot into the sky, and then formed a pulsing halo. My great-grandfather said that in the last instant of his life, my papa's brain absorbed a huge stream of energy and information, that in some incredible way he was able to cleanse himself of all the information stored there before, and so he was able to play for time so that he could unclench his hands and direct the branch upward before the explosion.
Anastasia stroked the cedar with her palms one more time, pressed her cheek to it, and stood still, smiling, listening to the ringing of the tree. Anastasia, is the oil of the cedar nut stronger or weaker in its healing properties than pieces of the ringing cedar?
The same. If the nuts are gathered at a specific time and with a specific attitude toward the cedar, then the cedar itself produces it.
Do you know how to do that?
Yes, I do.
Will you tell me?
Yes, all right.
Chapter: You need to change your worldview.
I asked Anastasia what kind of woman it was she'd had her conflict with her grandfather over, why she couldn't find a way to contact her, and why she needed that contact.
You have to understand. It's very important when two people join their lives together that they have a spiritual attraction. Unfortunately, it all mainly begins with the flesh. For example, you see a beautiful young woman and want to be intimate with her. You still haven't seen the person, her soul. Often people join their fates solely on the basis of fleshly attraction. That quickly passes and switches over to something else. What binds people together then? It's not all that hard to find someone close to you in spirit with whom you can acquire genuine happiness. But in your technocratic world there are so many obstacles. The woman I've been trying to contact lives in a big city and travels regularly to the same place, probably her job. There, or along the way, she is constantly finding or encountering a person very close to her in spirit, with whom she could be truly happy. But most importantly, they would have a child capable of bringing the world much good. Because they would have created him in the same impulse as we did. But this man simply cannot get up the nerve to declare himself to this woman, and she herself is partly to blame. Imagine. He looks in her face and sees his soul's chosen one, while she, as soon as she senses anyone's gaze, immediately tightens her belt and pulls her skirt up a little higher and tries to lift it accidentally. Well, and so on. This man immediately gets carnal feelings. But he doesn't know her, so he goes to see a woman he knows better, who is more accessible to him, attracted by these same carnal feelings. I want to tell this woman what to do, but I can't get through to her. Her mind won't open up to receive information for a second. She works wholeheartedly only on problems of daily life. Imagine, one time I followed her for an entire day. It was awful. Later, my grandfather warned me that I was working very little with my summer people, spreading myself thin and prying in other people's territory. She wakes up in the morning and her very first thought is not to rejoice at the coming day, but what to cook. She gets upset that she's out of some kind of food, then she gets upset that she's out of something you can rub on yourself in the morning, either a cream or paint. She's constantly thinking about how to get it. She's constantly late and forever running, hoping that first one, then another means of transport doesn't leave without her. At the place she always goes to, her brain is generally overloaded. How can I explain it to you? Well, with all kinds of nonsense to my mind. On the other hand, outwardly, her brain is supposed to make her facial expressions practical and perform some work assignment of hers. At the same time, she's thinking about a girlfriend or acquaintance of hers and fuming at her. Simultaneously, she's listening to what the people around her are saying. Imagine it's like this day in and day out, like a wind-up toy. On her way home, when people see her, she pretends to be an almost happy woman. But in fact, she is constantly thinking about problems and paints, examining the clothes in stores, especially the kind that reveal her tempting charms, assuming this will bring about some miracle, although in her case, the opposite happens. She comes home and starts to clean her house. She thinks she's relaxing when she's watching her television and fussing with food, and the main thing is for her to think about something good for a single second. Even when she goes to bed, everyday cares fill her thoughts. If she had just torn herself away from them for a minute that day and thought about,
Wait a minute, Anastasia. You have to explain how you see her, what she looks like, her clothing, and what she should be thinking about at the moment this man is near her. What should she do so he will try to declare his intentions to her? Anastasia told me everything in the minutest detail. I will quote here what I think is the crux.
A dress slightly below the knees, green, no cleavage, with a small white collar, almost no makeup. She listens with interest to the person conversing with her.
And that's it, I commented after hearing the simple explanation.
There's a lot behind these simple things. For her to choose just the dress, to use makeup differently, and to look at someone with genuine interest, she would have to change her worldview.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of Anastasia, Book 1 of the Ringing Cedar series, Mortal Sin.